All right, we're going to start the process of getting our parts put onto our proto board, and you want to make sure that the parts are getting installed on the side that has the printing, so make sure that you have that side facing up. Okay, we're going to look at our LEDs first. Okay, so if we look on where our parts are going to go here, you can see all of our LEDs are going to be off to the end like this. That said, we're going to also make sure that we put the LEDs that have a narrower viewing angle here, okay, and then the ones on the outside, D1 and D4, we're going to actually go with those with a wider viewing angle of 40 degrees. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind here. D2 and D3 will be the same, smaller viewing angle. D1, D4, bigger viewing angle. If we look at the schematic diagrams for that, or I'm sorry, the parts diagram for that, you can see the one that has the clear, I'm sorry, this is the bluish one, bluish tint to it. The bluish tint one has a viewing angle of 20 degrees. So the bluish ones will go towards the inside. And then the ones that are clear, you can see those have a viewing angle of, where is it? About 40 degrees. Okay. So those clear ones will go to the outside ends, and let's see if I can get the picture up. Okay, clear ones will be D1 and D4. The blue ones will be D2, D3. And that should help cover a nice span as well of light towards where we want it to go. So let's put in D1 first. And the positive leg is going to go into this hole right here. The negative leg will go into this hole right here. So pay attention to the correlation between the two, and we want to make sure we get them in exactly the right holes. So let's go to get our clear LED. Remember, the positive leg is going to go in this hole right here. Right, so that's the longer of the two legs. The shorter leg is going to go into that hole. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of maneuver this so that this then would be positioned right off the edge of the board like that. Okay. And then these two legs, I'm just going to bend them over a little bit. And I am going to solder that in, but let's put the other one in first. We'll get about 2 parts in here. So if we look D4, the negative leg is going to go right here, right next to this big hole, and the positive leg is going to go above that big hole. So get it here. There's that big hole. The positive leg is going to go into that one. The negative is going to go into that one. So I'm going to make that happen. And then I'm going to get it so that it can bend off to the end of the board like that. Okay. And then we'll just bend those legs a little bit so that we can solder it. And now we're going to go ahead and do our soldering. Use the same soldering techniques and safety procedures that we have previously learned. I'm going to use a little piece of masking tape to hold that down there. Remember, we're not going to be cutting anything. We're just going to be soldering. So keep a high angle on your soldering iron and just get it soldered into its appropriate hole. Oops, I missed it, actually, the one next to it by mistake. That's okay. All right, got those 2 soldered. Yeah, this one right here, I shouldn't have done that, but nothing's going in there that I can think of, so it shouldn't be a problem. All right, this one and that one. All right, so we got those done. Remember, we're not cutting. You can bend them flat if you want to get them out of your way a little bit, but they need to stay there for now. Now we're going to go do our blue LEDs next. That'll be D2 and D3. So let's start with D2. All right, the positive leg is going to go, you can see I have 2 empty ones, and then the positive leg goes here. And then in relationship to the positive, if you go diagonally, that's where the negative leg goes. So positive leg right here, 2 spaces in between. So let's jump into that. Okay, I'm going to, don't forget this first one here, with that one underneath this leg. That's 1, 2. So the positive leg's going to go there. The negative leg's going to go just diagonally from it. And then I'm going to bend it over. Okay, so that's just like in the picture diagram. We skipped 2. This one was kind of hidden by the leg, but we skipped 2, and then the positive leg went there, negative was diagonal to it. And then we'll go ahead and solder those in as well. I'm going to do that now. Bend those legs. It's going to get a little messy in here just with having so many legs coming through, but you can move them around however you need to. Okay, that's good. Now let's get the next blue LED. That's going to be D3. Positive is going to go here. So again, if I look, I'm going to go skip 2 more holes. Positive is going to then go there. Negative will be diagonal to it. Okay, so 1 hole, 1 hole, 2 hole. So it's going to go right here. And the other leg will go diagonally. Bend it over. And I'll bend those legs a little bit and then solder it in place as well. So really the whole trick is just kind of working based off of landmarks of previous parts that you put in. So you can see how it's important that you are being accurate to where you get your initial parts placed. Oops, not doing too good. All right. Okay, moving on to the next part. We could go with Q1. We'll do Q1 next. Remember to, if for parts, you did build some on a breadboard, so you'll have some of the parts that are still on your breadboard if you haven't taken them out. All right, make sure that you're accurate in putting this part in. The emitter goes here, base collector. I'm going to use this as a reference. See, there's nothing in here. So if I come down 1, 2, 3 holes, the collector needs to be in here, and then the other 2 will go right in the row with it. So let's get our board, and there's that little void. So if we hold our transistor from above, it should look like this. Okay. So our collector is the leg on the side, the left, right? Okay, so that left leg's going to go in that 3rd hole, and the other 2 are going to go into the 2 holes next to it. Just like that. And doesn't need to go down all the way, just wiggle it in there about like that or so, and then just bend those legs a little bit to hold it in place. Then you can go ahead and solder. So make sure before you solder that you know it's positioned in there right, so this looks accurate. All right. Okay, let's do the next one. If we look at where that one goes, then the collector, we would end up skipping 2 holes, and then it would go in the 3rd one right there. So same thing, I'm going to bend these apart just a little bit. Okay, so count carefully. We're going to skip a hole, so that's 1, 2, there's the 3rd one. Okay. So the collector is now 2 away from that top left one there, and then the other 2 go there. Okay, so if I look back to my diagram, it would go 1, 2, and then this collector, which goes into this hole, the other 2 are then going right next to it. So get it in there, bend those legs a little bit, and then you can solder it. Make sure that you're wiping your soldering iron tip off every now and then to keep it clean. That'll get you good soldering. Okay. All right, that transistor's in. Let's look at the next one. Next one, same thing. It's going to be 1 hole down, 2 hole down, and it'll go into the third. The collector goes into the third. All right, so let me bend these apart a little bit just to get going. All right, then I'm going to look. It's 1, 2, 3. Let's see, make sure you get the collector in there. So it's 1, 2, 3. Push it down in there. Okay, and let's just double check here. We went 1, 2, 3. The collector is in this hole right here. Okay, so notice all the flat sides, they're all facing that way. All right, so I got it pushed in. I'm going to bend those over a touch and solder. And then we'll do our last transistor, Q4. So it again goes 1, 2, and it'll go in the third hole with the collector. Notice it looks a little different down here. That's okay though. I'm doing this transistor for now. This is 1, 2, collector goes into the third one down. All right, so grab that last transistor. Oops, where is mine? Okay. All right, collector 1, 2, 3. Snug it in there, bend them over. Verify that it was 1 hole, 2 hole, collectors in that third hole. Okay, go ahead, solder. Remember to clean your tip. All right. So now we have our transistors all in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put in our 39 ohm resistors, which are R1, 2, R3, and R4. If you look on the schematic diagram, you'll see they're right in here, all the 39s. Okay, so R1, let's start with that one. You can see where one leg of that's going to go. It's going to go right next to where the negative of the LED is. So we'll put one leg there. The other leg's going to go right into the hole right next to where the C1 is. So let's jump back to our diagram or picture of it, and we'll do it. We'll bend those legs out in advance. Okay, one leg goes right next to the negative. So there's the negative soldered in. I'm going to go right there. The other end goes right next to where the collector is. So right there. Get that pushed in. Remember, we're not cutting anything off at this point, so it's going to get a little messy. Move things around if you need to as far as bending the legs. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to do the next resistor, which is R2. Same thing. One leg goes right next to the negative of D2. The other one goes right next to the collector of Q2. Okay, so grab our transistor. I'm sorry, resistor. 39 ohms. So that's the orange, white, black. Let's bend those over. One leg's going to go next to that D2 negative. The other one goes next to the collector of Q2. Hold it in, bend them over a little, and solder. Okay, did that get it? All right, next part, R3. Notice again, one leg's right next to the negative of D3, the other's right next to the collector of Q3. All right, grab our resistor, bend the legs over. Okay, one leg there, the other leg right there. And we'll bend these over just a bit and solder. All right, last resistor here for the 39 ohms anyway. We're gonna go, all right, notice this one's a little different. D1 is gonna go diagonally across from where the negative is of D4. And then same, the other leg's gonna be diagonally across from where the collector is on Q4. All right, so let's go do that. So one leg is going diagonally from here, and the other leg goes diagonally across from that one. So it's going to go right there. And get it in, bend the legs over a little, do the soldering. Okay, we got all the 39 ohms in. Now we're going to go to the other ones. Which value are those? I'd have to look. I don't recall. The schematic says 470. All right, so we'll get our 470s. That should be yellow, violet, brown. We'll start with our 5 right up here. Notice one leg goes right below the base of Q1, and then the other one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 holes away. Okay, so, or you could look at it as it's going to be in the same column as 3 volts, but it won't really be 3 volts. And we're just looking at the hole for reference. All right, so one hole below the base, the other one is 4 away. Okay, so get my 470. All right, one hole right below the base. Let's see how I got in there. Kind of hard for you to see, but it's in the middle of that transistor. And the other one's then it's going to go 4 away. So 1, 2, 3, that would be right here. All right, so you'll notice this point, it's in line with that 3 volts. And then the base, it's going to the middle there in the hole, which is right coming from the middle of that transistor there. Okay. And we'll need to, of course, solder it in place. Okay. All right, next, R6. So same thing, 1 below and then 4 away. 1 below the base of Q2. Okay, so 1 below the base of Q2, the other one right here, which is in line with that other one. Right. So the 3 volt mark, make sure it's pushed down in there as best you can get it. All right, and solder. Okay, let's go with our next one. That would be our 7. Same thing, 1 below the base of Q3 and then 4 over. Okay, 1 below the base of Q3 and 4 over, which, all of these are going to be in that same column, as you can see. Get it pushed in there and then solder. Okay. Next, last, resistor. We're going to make this one go right below the base of Q4, and the other one again is 4 away. So one goes to the base, the other one 4 away. That pushed in there, and then we'll solder. Okay. So the last thing we have here then is the switch S1. Notice the middle of the switch needs to be right in line here with D7. Okay. So jump to this. Here's my switch, and I want to make it so that the middle goes into where it says D7. Well, it's not going into where it says D7. Notice where it is on the board. Okay. So the holes that I use are these. These are the holes you're using. Making sure that the middle is in line with that 7. Okay. All right, so that's how it should be positioned. You're probably going to need to use a little piece of tape or something to hold that in place so it doesn't move on you when you're trying to solder it. Okay, so I got that in, and then I'm going to solder that. And I can probably straighten that out a touch. There we go. All right, and that would be where we'll stop for now. Next thing, we'll need to come back and we're going to connect all these things up. Remember, you're not cutting any of these. These all stay.